So I want to piggyback on a few things that my friend over here said, which is to say this. There's multiple ways, multiple paths to get to a destination. You know, and what I mean by that is it can be anything, right? Specifically, I like to think of it as far as goals, accomplishments, or possessions, things that you might want, property, land, a home. But you have to ask yourself, how am I going to get there? How am I going to get there, right? And do I want to get there quickly? Because there's ways to do that. Or do I want to, take the scenic route, take my time, do these little, I don't want to say little things, do these things that are important to me in the moment.
I'm growing impatient. I'm trying to do it quickly.
And then just get there, Mm-hmm. But if you're growing impatient, then there's obviously certain things that need to be done to help make that. And one is capital, one is money.
Right.
How are you going to get the money?
Right.
Are you going to do it illegitimately? You're going to do it legitimately. Hopefully, ideally, legitimately.
Right.
Which means
you're
going to have to, get into the workforce, and are you want to do it in the manner of skills that you naturally possess, or do it in the method in which you already have done historically, right? Yeah. As part of your craft, as far as teaching. Might not be the ideal thing for you in this moment, or might not be what you really want to do, but it is a path and a means in which you can accomplish what it is that you need to do. So those are things you got to ask yourself. Now, having said that, let me impart upon you something else that you may have not really given a lot of serious thought. But you're 3x10 now, right? Mm-hmm. Time accelerates quickly, especially as you start reaching those numbers. Like the time that just starts flying by.
Would you agree? That after a certain age, time just moves a little bit quicker?
Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, you got, 30 years behind me. Where do I see myself in the next 5 years? Where do I see myself in the next 10 years? 15, 20, And it's one thing to be blessed and be in a position of health, mentally, physically, with no commitments, no responsibilities, and just live. But at some point in time, it's going to happen. You're going to get to the point where your body is aging, to the point where you need health care. And it doesn't have to be old as far as having health care, but at some point in time, you're going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to take care of yourself. So the question then becomes is who's going to take care of you? Family? Are you going to have some form of earnings and savings set aside to be able to pay for assisted living? You know what I'm saying? Or is the mindset to continue to just be free and live off the land and, live wherever I can, shelter? Those are the things you have to ask yourself. It's not a question you need to answer right here in this moment. But I can say this. I've been in places where I've seen elderly people who are blessed enough to be in a hospital, specifically the VA hospital in Augusta, Georgia. And yeah, they may have some health care there, but they are lonely, extremely lonely. Family members that won't come and see them for whatever reason. And it's a sad sight to see. I say that because my dad had a health situation. He had to go to the hospital. And, his kids are in different locations. But I would drive to go see him, as much as I could. And when I would go see him, I'd be like, wow, seeing all the different people in the hospital. And it just made me think, I'm in my 50s now, early 50s. Another, hopefully 30 years or later on down the line, before I start having any significant health issues, if at all. And I'm thinking, who's going to take care of me? Are my kids going to want to come see me and spend time with me, help nurture me mentally, or whatever the case may be, help me physically? So all I'm trying to tell you is to enjoy yourself in the moment, but consider the future, the longevity.
Don't neglect down the road.
Because
down the road could be 1, 5, or 30 years.
Come quickly.
But don't neglect that. You're happy now, you're content. You're saying that you don't really have much stress, you know. But there are some things that
you're less stressed. I am stressed about certain things, but I am less stressed.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I guess a good out of getting the Jeep being repossessed is out of sight, out of mind. It's no more it's no more worrying if they do come and get it. It's no more even trying to figure out that bill, that note. That is, you know what I'm saying? It's like fine. That's something else that's just off my mind.
So I'm not talking about sinking all your happiness into a vehicle, but vehicles do allow us an ends to a mean, or means to an end, rather. And it allows us one of the most important things Americans say is important to them, which is freedom. As long as you're not violating the laws, you know, you come and go wherever you want. You can actually U-turn and change your mind in midstream and go somewhere. So it allows you the freedom, okay? For some people, if you sleep in your vehicle now, you don't have to worry about a lease and rent and people complaining about the noise and the smoke, and I don't like that. Right. Do another fragrance or something like that. You know,
you
don't
like this one? You're in that vanilla and smoke some cherry.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
it might be a cherry a little
you
bit.
don't have to worry about
yet.
those things. When I lived in an apartment, I remember I had to listen to everybody's argument. I had to listen to when you smell the foods that they cooked that I didn't like the way they smelled, you know, and all that type of stuff. So there's pros and cons to everything, but again, you're less stressed now, but don't neglect where you want to go. And it's easy to live for today and not think about, you know what? Something can happen to me tomorrow. Between 2020 and 2021, the amount of people who died from COVID-related issues, the last that I saw was over 1 million people. I know people who personally were healthy people and then they got sick and died. Yeah, I just talked to someone who I went to do a photo shoot for that I told you about. And this person said I went back to her home country in Africa, and the day after she got back, she got sick. And she's been sick ever since. Her kidneys shut down. So she can't even go out to a function tomorrow to enjoy it. And she's the president of the association, and she can't enjoy it. Things happen. Life happens. Some people say that 4-letter word, life. Life happens. So there's some basic things that you want to put into place for tomorrow, next year, 20 years from now. Some things you want to put into place.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see what happened to your snake, right? It didn't have a plan. You don't want to be in that situation where you're forgotten about. Somebody finds you a month or 2 months later. My uncle was in that situation.
Somebody said it. That's real talk, man. Because you didn't have the necessity. You didn't have the water. You didn't have the food. You didn't have the proper shelter. Given the season,
you said somebody finds you 2 months later.
My uncle was in the same situation. He died during the winter. And nobody had heard from him for a while. And then so when they actually find you, you know, most people don't want to die. And that's it. You want to do, if you had a life that was worth something, you sow into people's life, you were a teacher for 7 years. Some child remembers you. You sold into their life, and you didn't even know that you sold into their life.
Oh, no, they tell me all the time. They still tell me.
Right. So these are things to consider. Don't just live for today. Even if today makes you happy. Think about tomorrow. Those are the tough. You know what's tough also? For people to sit down and have a conversation about their vitality. When I get to, I'm not going to be here forever. In the whole spectrum of time, we're a tiny little micro blip. Our 20, 30, 60, 90 years is a tiny blip.
120.
Okay. So if you want to live to be as old as him and crusty, that's fine. But don't just live for that. Look at different things as far as your life insurance, health insurance, and those type of things. You don't want to suffer any more than you have to suffer. So put together a plan and then put together how to get there. Let me give you this. And this is for planning and thinking out your future, out past a year. Tell me what 6 plus 4 plus 5 is. Okay? Tell me what 654 plus 912 minus 17 plus 610 is.
792.
Nah, you made that up. It was cute. Here's my point. Here's my lesson on that. The simple things in life are easy for you to just put together and come up with the answer and the solution. But life is not always as simple as 6 plus 4 plus 5. Life gives you algebraic equations with all kind of calculus and everything else that you have to figure out. Okay? But you didn't get that answer right that you just gave me. My point is, when you sit down...
But I taught algebra, right? And so they talk about, they say men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. But when you teach algebra, you know how you can manipulate the numbers. And that's what algebra is all about, manipulation. Okay. I can make it do whatever I want.
If you were a teacher...
I can I make up the problem, it come out to be whatever I want it to be.
Listen to me. When you were a teacher...
How many stats are true?
No. I'm questioning now. I'm the professor, you're the student.
They're lies.
Okay? So here's the deal. When you gave tests, there was a right answer and there was a wrong answer that you marked wrong, right? And no matter how
I gave credit for progress. Okay,
but still, there was a right and a wrong answer, right? If you told me 6 plus 4 plus 5 was 14, that's wrong.
But if I saw you draw 6 circles and 4 circles, and then you put 9, well, I got to give you some credit for at least putting the numbers down.
Right, but there's a right and a wrong. And let me give you this logic: if you're a coder or a programmer, there's no excuse for this. No room for error.
It's got to be right.
Then there's cheat codes.
He knows that.
There be loopholes. There be cheat codes.
I was an engineer, so you can't. But still, my point.
Sometimes the code do stuff you don't expect it to do.
I want you to listen now. All right? Some things life gives you are so complex. If you write it down, now you can work through it and you can see. You not just have to think of it being in your mind and the visual, but now you can look at it and then you can weigh, this is a good option, better option, best option when you write it down and you look at it. And then you say, okay, this is where I want to go. How do I get there? Fill out an application. Go to whatever.com, fill out that application and do this. This is going to help me get to, and even prioritize them. But if you write them down, because everything is not just that simple. If you write them down, now you have a clear path to see how to get there. All right? You have a clear roadmap how to get it there.
So you asked him a question earlier. You didn't ask me that question.
So I wrote down the end goal, but I didn't write down how to get there. I said 4 Jeep Wranglers, a red one, a white one, a black one, and a golden one. I have 4 Lamborghinis, a red one, a white one, and 2 black ones. Okay. Just in case somebody else want to drive one, that's my tourist one, right?
Sure.
6 Teslas, a red, a white, a black, but then I want a Tesla Roadster. That's one of the fastest cars. I want a red, white, and black one of those too. Say thank you. My own business, Kim Dynasty, the Graffiti Jungle. The Graffiti Jungle is a mobile business where I screen print, Project Extinction merch, sell my books, host my podcast, CIGAR Talk, take Polaroid pictures, make music videos, take care of my plants. I hand roll and sell cigars. I hold interviews, kick back. My dogs, my snake, my fish, my monkeys live free. Thank you. I wrote down the end goal. Now, how do I get there?
That's what you got to go back and do what you just said. You got to do it on a day-to-day basis. So basically,
and sometimes you may have to tweak it and as things change.
Think about it. Everything I just said, what's the first one to get? What's the first thing you got to go for?
Something about
you need what you already have in your hand. some paper, and something to write with.
I got 4 pens over there.
Okay, good. So you got what you can get. You have what you need to get started. These houses that are around us, someone they just say, "Oh, I just want a house," and like you named all these end goal things, but the house is gonna be there. It's planning that has to go in there.
I forgot to put land, didn't I? I forgot to put some land.
So I'm glad you said that. Land is just one aspect of the end goal. So what you need to do as far as whatever your goal, whatever your vision is, I just told you. All right. Well, I'm about to give you some input on how you get there. Because you got the end goal. The question is, how do you get there?
Yes, sir.
You got to plan it out. Day by day, like he's telling you, right? You got to come up with a plan, and it's best. Plans are best when they're written down. As you already have the end goal, but you don't have to plan on how to get there. So some people keep a journal daily and catalog their thoughts and the ideas of what they want to do, what they need to have, and how they can go about acquiring those things. So the book, paper, what is the immediate needs that QM needs right now? Income. Check, write that out. What are the ways I can do it? Teaching, maybe, going back to, being a server, maybe, whatever the jobs may be. And then in addition to what my friend just said, go ahead and start putting job applications in there. Boom, 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 boom. Across the board. Just like I told my kids in the past when they're getting ready to go for a job. Like, look, you don't just put a job in one place and hope and wish they're going to come back and contact and say, oh, yeah, we want to give you the job. Or they might come in and interview you and they'll be like, all right, well, you know what? We got like 20 other applicants right here. We may call you. We'll see how it turns out. And you never get the call. Flood the market. Flood whatever industry that you have interest in as far as application for employment. Education, food industry, entertainment, if you want to go that route, whatever. And the biggest thing is just get an opportunity to get employed. And when you do that, you get a source of income in. If you can replicate that, work more than one job, do it. You don't have anything that's holding you back to keeping you from doing that. Right. It might take away from your creativity for a period of time, but that's a sacrifice to help you reach that end goal by putting more energy and time in to get what you need right now, which is income, right? So as you navigate through that, you had a timetable, maybe 6 months, a year, get a job, get a car, and then leave. You can do that. You can do whatever you want, right? Mm-hmm. However, the question is what's really practical to help you get to your end goal, right? You may need to work more than a year. You may need to work, 4 or 5 years. A mentor told me once, it's like, where do you see yourself in 3 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? All right, so what are the things you need to do on a day-to-day basis to be able to reach those goals? 3 years, a year, 3 years, 5 years. Is educating yourself more on a topic? Is it getting certain training to be able to have the knowledge to get a better job so that you can make more money, right? And along the way, you have to keep this in mind too. It's one of the oldest rules, one of the first rules. When you do work, pay yourself first. I'm not talking about just putting money in your pocket. Take that money, as much as we hate banks, put your money into not just a bank, but into some type of financial vehicle that pays you. We're talking about a lot of companies have a 401k, right? Put that money in there, because if it's going to be into an account that's going to grow, gets compound interest, and over time, as you're constantly putting that money in, employee may match you a certain amount of percentage of that money. So now you got more money that's growing and earning interest and accumulating over time, especially when you're in your 30s on up. It would have been ideal to start in the 20s, but that's fine. The compound interest you can make on money if you were just putting in like $50 or maybe $100 in your 20s, if you do that consistently all the way up into your 50s, you'll basically be like a millionaire.
And here's a good thing. you're young enough now to really recover some,
Absolutely.
redeems any mistakes that you made and any hardships.
Yeah.
You're young enough to bounce back and look back at it. What happened, this with the vehicle or anything else, you look back and say, man, you know, breathe a sigh of relief. But you can recover. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, it's a lot easier to mess over time, which people will do eventually. They mess over time than when you get to be 40 and 50, and then you're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Your 30 is a good time.
Yeah. You're going to be 40 trying to figure it out.
I did want to ask you, what did you do? Because you said you went through and experienced some of the same hardships. So what did you specifically do? Like, what was your turnaround?
So in a nutshell...
Your turnaround. How'd you turn it around?
So in a nutshell, I'll give you a little bit of the before, which is my transition from the military full-time to civilian life. And that was somewhat of a bumpier road than I had planned for and expected, and some things that were unexpected. When you live a full-time military life every day and you transition back into civilian life, you know, there's a lot of things that's unexpected and how to, you know, get in the civilian world and thrive instead of strive. So, but, you know, one thing I did, one of the best decisions that I made is I didn't give up on the military and say it's not for me. I transitioned from the full-time military into the reserves. And I kept it going.
There you go.
So the result wound up being that I retired in 2022. All right? A beautiful word for me and a lot of people is to be able to say I retired from something.
Yeah.
I told someone about a week and a half ago that I called up, he's in the National Guard, and I said, your objective should be to try to retire from a minimum of 2 things. Now, you're in the military. He's getting his bachelor's degree in May, okay? So he's on a good track there. He just got promoted to sergeant. So he's on a good track there. You keep your nose clean, you don't smoke drugs, don't get in no trouble, pass your PT, your physical test, and you can retire from there. So that's one. And then he's looking to get into accounting in the civilian life. So if you can retire from that, so you got one retirement, you got another retirement, you get your 401k, you get your Social Security, you put all of those peanuts together and you can make a peanut butter sandwich. Okay? But if you got one,
what about the jelly? What about the jelly?
Or syrup.
Hey, the protein that you're going to get from the peanuts,
Yeah.
you're getting the sugar from the jelly. But anyway, unless
hey, those are carbs. You need the energy.
Especially if you don't have any peanut allergies. But my point is, I made a good decision, and I haven't even started collecting my military retirement yet because I was retired from the reserve. But in just a few months, I'll be getting a nice, unexpected chunk of change. Was expected, anticipated, but I'm going to get a nice extra chunk of change to cushion things. Yeah. So that was a decision that I made. What do I do? Am I tired of the military? Can I do this? Can I keep doing this? Can I keep taking PT tests? Yeah. Can I deal with being deployed or going somewhere? All the options, being away from family for an extended period of time, and at that time, I could. So I'm glad that I made that decision because when I put enough of the peanuts together, then it's able to sustain me. Now, you have a different interest in lifestyle, and so you don't either desire or need the same things, but there are some things that we all still need that he mentioned. You know, you got to think about the 20, 30 years down the road.
Got to.
Okay? And then what happens, you don't want to be in a vehicle somewhere and it happened to dip down to 5 degrees and your health is not the same then as it is today.
Yeah.
And so 5 degrees do you in and somebody find you 5 weeks later.
Or you're not done in, but you're so debilitated, you need health care, and now it's like, okay, where's that going to come from? How am I? What quality of health care can I afford versus what I'm going to get?
So ultimately, we want you to not just live for today. We want you to live for tomorrow and then develop a plan and write it down so it's in front of you. You can see it. You can see the writing and you can see, this is where I want to go. How do I get there? This is where I want to go, is all the way to the right of the page. How do I get there to the left side of the page? Okay, and then come up with that. Might be a short-term job. There might be a part-time job. It might be whatever, you know. Yeah. If you was excused, it might be strip dancing something. So edit that out. But whatever it is, okay.
Quick money.
Yeah, you know, as long as this lead ain't gonna get you in no trouble, right? All right, but looking at different
entertainment.
Options, you got to look at different things, how to get to where you want to get to. Yeah. There are some things that we didn't hear you mention, so we brought them up. Healthcare is very important. Yeah. You know, it's almost a double-edged sword, because sometimes you don't get what you really pay into or deserve, but it's better than nothing at all. Okay, you're still young now, so you don't. When I was 30, I could leap tall buildings in a single bound, but I can't do those same things anymore. You know, and we're all gonna. My mother used to say, the only way not to get old is to die young. So what do you choose? Okay, it's a binary choice.
Oh, no,
it's a binary choice.
Because that's what they say. They say one thing you don't do, don't get old. And now you just hit me with the. If you don't want to get old,
I'm giving you reality. Okay.
Yeah. Hold on, say it again. You said the only way to what?
The only way not to get old is to die young.
The only way to not
get old, you're going to have
young.
all the other things that come with getting old. Your speech is going to be a little bit slower. You're going to move a little bit slower. You won't be able to jump as high. Even simple things like getting in and out of a car now. Yeah, you could afford that Corvette, but now you have your knees won't let you get that low to get in and get out.
The craziest part is that what the guy just said yesterday. Yesterday, I was like, you know what? I still want to attach myself to abundance. So I said, I'm going to just do my little visuals in front of nice cars. He had a Camaro. I said, can I smoke in front of your Camaro? He said, yeah. So, he had just bought his Camaro as a retirement present to himself. Mm-hmm. He said, yeah, I just bought this. He said, I was going to get the Corvette, but this is a little easier to get in and out of. He said the exact same thing. He said the exact thing. He said, I'm going to still get the Corvette, though. He said he's still going to get it.
So you heard it twice.
Yeah.
This scripture that says, out of the mouths of 2 or 3, let every word be established. So you're hearing it the second time. So just something for you to consider and put in your memory bank. So, but this is what you need to do. When we leave you now, you need to start thinking about and replaying what we've been saying. You need to go back to your camera and see what you recorded and then write it down. That's not good enough. The battery dies on that, but if you need something that you wrote down and you stuck in your wallet right next to your driver's license so that you can remember, you know what, that's right, I need to make that phone call today. You know, oh, that's right, I need to log on, go to the library and log on to this site so I can, you know, so you need a constant reminder of where you want to go. I don't write things down every time, but when I know things are getting really busy for me, I start writing stuff down.
Yeah.
These phones right here can do so much more than what we use them for.
For sure.
Yep.
Remind you of
Put
any
your notes
and
in there
everything.
and all, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but this is where I gotta
Oh, no,
go on to my other part here, man. So
words of wisdom.
hopefully gave you something you can use.
You're welcome.
I appreciate
My man Jay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Y'all gonna sign my book? For
This
the
is Kelvin here.
It's
Getting ready
Jay.
to move on to the next chapter.
Kelvin and Jay, thank y'all for stepping in on another episode of Cigar Talk.
Cigar pipe talk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.